Okay, you're live, Maharaj. Karchas, I think is bigger.
Smaller? Yeah. Medium size. They were gonna give you the clankers. I said no. Give them
Can we get some? Can we get some?
yes.
Smaller numbers? Jai Radha Manda.
Jai Radha Radha. Gopi Chandavala. Gopi Chandavala. No, I normally take one water, so it's not about it. Yasudhanandana Brajajanandana Yasudhanandana Brajajanandana. Bolo. Yasudhanandana Brajajanandana Jamuna Tera Vanachari Jamuna Tera Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Astotra Tatat Systematis Divine Graces Conpanacharya Sila Abhachan Vinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Papa Maharaj Ki Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivraya Pacharya Astotra Tatat Systematis Divine Graces Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Papa Maharaj Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavina Ki Jai Namacharya Sulihas Das Thakur Ki Jai Prem se kahao Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita, Gadadhara Srivasari, Sri Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Sri Radha Krishna Gopal Gopinand, Syamakunda Radha Kunda Girigavadana Ki Jai, Vrindavan Mathura Dham Ki Jai, Sri Mayapanavadip Dham Ki Jai, Sri Jagannath Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Maya Yamunamaya Ki Jai, Srimati Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Sama Veda Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the sum of devotees, all glories to the sum of devotees, all glories to the sum of devotees. All glories to Sister Gauranga Ranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasa Tato Jaya Mudirayet Nastrapi Sabhadrisu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavaiti Naistiki. So Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 31, Text 6. Krimi Bishata Savanga Sokha Marya Pratikshanam Mucham Apnoti Ur Kleshas Tatraya Shudite Muhu Krimi Shata Samvagha Sukamaryat Pratikshanam Mucham Apnoti Vruklesha Tatratya Shudite Muhu Krimi Bhishata Samvanga Sokama Riyat Pratikshana Mucham Apnoti Guru Kleshas Tatratre Shudite Muhu. Can someone try?
Sarvangaha Shata Sarvanga Sokumarya Pratikshanam Muchamapnoturu Kleshas Tatraya Kshuditermuhu Krimibihi Kshata Sarvanga Sokumarya Pratikshanam Muchamapnoturu Kleshas Tatraya Kshuditermuhu Sokumarya Pratikshanam
this?
Krimibhi Kshata Sarvanga Saukumarya Pratikshanam Murchamapnoti Rukleshas Tatratyek Shuditaye Muhu.
So word for word translation, creamy bee by worms. Shata samvangaha. I'm sorry. Shata, bitten. Sarva angaha, all over the body. Sokumaryat, because of tenderness. Praktishanam, moment after moment. Murcham, unconsciousness. Apnoti, he obtains. Uru, Urukleshaha, whose suffering is great. Tatratre, being there in the abdomen. Shudite, hungry. Muhu, again and again. Translation. Purport by His Evangelist, ISKCON Prabhupada, Srila A.C. Bhakti Vasudeva Swami, Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Beaten again and again all over the body by the hungry worms in the abdomen itself, the child suffers terrible agony because of his tenderness. He thus becomes unconscious moment after moment because of the terrible condition. Please kindly respond, repeat. Beaten again and again all over the body by the hungry worms in the abdomen itself. The child suffers terrible agony because of his tenderness. He thus becomes unconscious moment after moment because of the terrible condition. Purport. The miserable condition of material existence is not only felt when we come out of the womb of the mother, but it is also present within the womb. Miserable life begins from the moment the living entity begins to contact his material body. Unfortunately, we forget this experience and do not take the miseries of birth very seriously. In Bhagavad Gita, therefore, it is specifically mentioned that one should be very alert to understand the specific difficulties of birth and death. Just as during the formation of this body, we have to pass through so many difficulties within the womb of the mother. At the time of death, there are also many difficulties. As described in the previous chapter, one has to transmigrate from one body to another. And the transmigration into the bodies of dogs and hogs is especially miserable. But despite such miserable conditions, due to the spell of Maya, we forget everything and become enamored by the present so-called happiness, which is described as actually no more than a counteraction to distress. Magana Timarandasya, Yunatana Salakaya, Saksud Maditam, Yena Tismai, Si Guru Vedamaha, Suchetam Manovistam, Staffetam, Jenabutale, Swam Rupam, Kadamayam, the Datiswa, Padantikam. Vandi Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Nityananda Sahodita, Godadaya Puspavantu, Chita Chandatamon. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita, Gadara, Sri Basar, Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Panchakalpatari Vacha, Kripasanam Vyaya Vacha, Patitanam Pavana Bhyo Vaishnava Bhyo Namo. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhotale, Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Chinam. Namaste Saraswati Deva. Gauravani Pacharane. Anirvasesa Swanyam Vadi Pasatyanta Satari. So, I welcome everyone to this morning class. It takes some sober soul to spare their time to bathe their intellect with the cosmogeneal philosophy of the Bhagavatam before going out to their respective duties. It takes just highly intelligent persons to do that. And so I remember this very, the descriptions of the movement of the living entity beginning from the time of conception. I remember taking this, part 2 of the third canto to Colombia. I had a presentation at a Christian forum at Columbia University some years ago. And then we're discussing how the concept of abortion and the abortion and anti-abortion movements could influence so many decisions. And we specifically brought this very canto to the class. And so when I was showing them the details, the graphic details about the living entities, how we came into this world, and they were so shocked that such a graphic details, a document, a religious script, giving graphic details of how the living entity came into this world is on this planet. Because they don't have that one in their own scriptures. Neither the Muslims. And so, again, on this same movement of the living entity, I remember being to Croatia one time and I met one legislator and then we became friends. That time I was active on Facebook. So they were legislating on abortion. And then he was so much worried, he wanted to make a counter argument against abortion, but he didn't have any philosophical reasoning. so he contacted me, and then I told him to go to this very chapter, and then the previous chapter to read. He will have so much to share with his fellow lawmakers. So, here we understand it. The type of suffering, Prabhupada mentions in the purport. The suffering is not only about how we are, what type of challenges we are undergoing as we are moving around, but even when when the living entity was in the womb, we underwent terrible suffering. Sometimes people don't want to hear things about suffering. It's like you are being pessimistic. But this is no pessimism. I mean, we can see it in our own lives. When someone is born, we make a celebration, and when someone leaves the body, we go into distress. The both cases bring a lot of suffering. In fact, for the person who is living, it is just a matter of wisdom. Someone who is wise will think about how to stop this process that involves so much of suffering. So right here we find it in our own literatures how the suffering begins in the womb. We get bitten by worms. We suffer so much. And, when we are born, we begin to be pampered by the parents, by the family members, and we're given so much of provisions here and there. And we tend to think, oh, I am so great. Look at me, I'm a prince, or I'm a princess. Everyone is worshiping me. How wonderful is this world? We forget about the horrible experience we pass through in the womb. We're conditioned. At the time of birth, we forget completely. Why? Because there is so much of pain, even at the time of birth. Sometimes the baby faints. Imagine a baby's head has to pass through a cervix. There's a small opening. That's a lot of pressure. Think about it so that you figure out what to do with your life. It's not just, reading it or understanding it, but what is the implication of this type of distressful situation in our own lives? What impact does it have on our decisions, on how we use our lives? The unfortunate thing is that we are so much conditioned, Pashyana Pina Pashyati, even after seeing, even after hearing, we are having this lackadaisical approach to the implementations of the Sastric injunctions to be able to create a transformation in our lives. So the descriptions are very, very graphic here, and Prabhupada mentions in the purport how the living entity has been transmigrating. Brahmanda, Brahmite, Konya, Bhagyavan, Jiva. We go from one Brahmanda to the other. The living entity has been traveling since time immemorial. Not just going from New York to California, but going from one Brahmanda to the other, from one universe to the other, one local to the other. You wonder why people like to travel? Because it is intrinsic in a living entity. Traveling. Oh yeah. Just like happiness is intrinsic. By default, the living entity has been traveling. Moving from one body to the other, from one looker to the other, one planet to the other. And Prabhupada mentioned the Papa, passing through the animal bodies could be so horrifying. And we see when people for the devotees, death is a little bit okay. But, the non-devotees, some people at the time of death, they pass stool and all this, they're just frightened. People don't want to hear about death. But we will all quit this body and we don't want to hear about it. In other words, we don't want to prepare for it. But, see, the legacy of Srila Prabhupada is so amazing, it's so transforming, that we have that cultural inclination to at least understand and make a decision what to do with our lives. Should we continue this rigmarole, or we want to stop these miserable travels? Sometimes people think, it's like someone thinking, traveling from one country to the other, one continent to the other, or these families, they're enjoying. There's no enjoyment in traveling. If you're on high altitudes, you can feel the pinprick right in your ears. And I complained in Washington, D.C. the other time that, see, this, the worst thing I hate about science life is this traveling in airplanes. Because you could feel the pain. And somebody told me, hey, Maharaj, everybody else is experiencing the same thing. Why are you complaining? Acha, everyone is suffering. Why don't you just adjust yourself to the suffering and be comfortable with the suffering? Yeah, so we see people doing different type of things, because someone is doing it, someone is passing through the difficulty. We feel comfortable also to pass through the difficulty. We don't want to create a positive change in our lives. But the distinction between the lower species, the subhumans and the humans, is that humans can make distinctive decisions. The lower animals, they act instinctively, but we are accountable to whatever we do. So we may hear the philosophy and not implement anything in our lives to be able to engender a positive devotional transformation, and we are held to blame. And we may take advantage of this whole legacy that Prabhupada has left behind and create a revolution, a spiritual revolution in our lives, and extend that revolution in helping to redirect a misdirected civilization. You see, if you have a big position, especially in America, you have a big position, say you're the governor of New York or the president of the country, everybody is watching you. What has he done? What has she done? So, we have this high philosophy. And when people come around, they also want to see how our lives reflect this philosophy. Is there character development in this guy? So, we don't need to be told that the material world, yes, there is some enjoyment in the material world, but everything is very transitory. Enjoyment, you may say, well, suffering is also transitory. That's not true. It's only transitory in relation to this body. When the body dies, then, okay. But otherwise, see, today, today you have, I have COVID today, and then I got treated with the COVID, and then does it mean that I'm not going to encounter another disease or another virus? This is the nature of the material world. So, see, not everyone has been exposed to these teachings. Not everyone is sitting down to chant Hare Krishna. Do we ask ourselves, why are we so fortunate that we are the ones who are practicing what is prescribed for this age in terms of self-realization? We want to stop this movement. It's going to warm womb and suffering for 8-9 months, and then come out, and then the process of even coming out is so horrible. You faint. A journey you have to take to go to the next destination. You faint. That's a good journey. It's a good journey. But that's what we're doing. We enjoy it. Oh, it's a wonderful journey. A wonderful trip. Birth is a trip. But, from the womb, that transition to come out from the womb, it's just a painful experience that the living and that the child, in some cases, faints because it's so painful. The head is cramped because it has to pass through as small cervix. So let's reflect about this and make some decisions with our lives. We want to be comfortable in this material world and then, take the risk of having to go through, again, all of these transmigrations from one body to the other, to the animal bodies, to heavenly planet, to hellish planet. Is it what we want to continue to do with our lives? Intelligent person will say no. So let's be wise. Think about how we are so lucky that we are among the few people, yeah. What's the population of New York? Huh? How many millions?
8.
So how many devotees do we have in New York? Up to 1 million? 100,000? So, we are the fortunate minority. Of course, we should expand. But the point is, there are so many people who are not fortunate enough to be exposed to these teachings. And we have it. So we should live it. We should let our lives be a reflection of the teachings of Srila Prabhupada. And then we'll be making our journey to be out of this incarceration. Sometimes people don't want to hear that this material world is an incarceration. I remember we were on Harinam and we were distributing some pamphlets some years ago, and this pamphlet was about, how to die. I think one devotee gave it to one lady, and then she said, "No, I don't want. Tell me how to live my life and enjoy. I don't know. I don't want how to die." Yeah, yeah. But you see, this is something everyone will encounter, and some people don't want to be prepared for it. It's like a student in college. Okay, go to class, and there's a class now. Go to class. No, I'm busy. I'm going to watch a movie. He's not preparing for the exams. And then, when it is 2 weeks to the exam, it gets involved in nocturnal activities, reading all through the night. And the brain can only absorb a particular quantum of information. So people don't want to hear about how to die, the preparation for death. But devotees want to hear, because that is just the practical approach to living our lives in a responsible way. So we are given this human form of life, after having to go through so much of difficulties, different bodies. And even the human form of life, yes, we have it. But majority of people on the planet, they don't even know the purpose of the human form of life. If majority of people know, this place will be filled every morning and every evening. There will be no space for parking. And so, yeah, the Bhagavatam is so important. If even someone wants to simply use it for legislation, this is a very good one, And then the Croatian legislator, so he used this chapter to be able to advocate his anti-abortion proposition, because they were debating on a bill of abortion in Congress. So he used this very chapter. And he won. He won the people over. Because the point is that if we desire to do something, Krishna is more than willing to facilitate us to succeed in that venture. There may be some challenges, but especially, the very idea to preach or to distribute this transcendental knowledge. You see, Prabhupada came to America on just by himself, and he will go to Thompson Square Park to do Harina, a one-man squad Harina. I will bring so many people to 26th Avenue. Oh yeah. He didn't come with many followers from India. He just came by himself. Krishna Shakti Vinana He Tara Prabhata. If someone is empowered, they can spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. So the essential thing is, for us, we should try to be diligent in our devotional executions. And if we are just focused on helping Prabhupada to spread these teachings, then we'll get a message of Prabhupada. And the world will become transformed. But if we just keep it to ourselves, yes, we may become liberated. But what's the big thing in becoming a salvationist? And so this very chapter is very scientific, because I had a presentation at a conference, I think 2 years ago. Also, I used this very the movement of the living entities in this chapter, about how the leaders of society could lead an exemplary life in terms of upholding the norms of the constitutions that they believe they're working with, that resonate with the Vedic view of life. And the Vedic view of life is that life begins right in the womb. Yeah, we may not go into the streets. In America, there is the anti-abortion campaign is very intense, okay? But the scriptures tell us better what is taking place when life begins, and we can't think otherwise. And therefore, because this situation is real, we don't advocate killing of children in the womb. So yes, we may not necessarily meditate on our suffering situation. Oh, I'm just a suffering entity. In the womb, I was suffering. Now, also I'm suffering. We don't used to use that as a meditation. We should also think of the positive side of our existence, that we have the default of bliss. And that can be easily achieved when we tune into the devotional station. We cultivate bhakti. We may be living in a world of suffering, but we will not be affected by the suffering in the world. This old age, disease, we may pass through, but it's different. What a devotee experiences is completely different. Yes, they may pass through the same pains, but they don't feel the pains. So this is a chance for us to escapism is not even a watchword, but in this case, following the tenets of the Bhagavatam, I think we need to really figure out ways to get out from this repeated cycle of suffering. having to be born, be thrown in the womb, pass through 9 months, and be born, faint when you have to be born, and then again they resuscitate you, become conscious, they try to treat you like a king or like a prince or a princess, and then we feel, I only work, I'm being worshipped. So it's important that we imbibe the philosophy, we live the philosophy, we distribute proper books, which are all embodiment of the philosophy. Any comments or questions? Yes. Terrible.
Thank you for the encouraging class, lighting the fire of us a little bit to realize that we call it the Shastra nature of this existence. And I really appreciated how you were saying about how we have to live the philosophy, and how sometimes what I've seen is even myself, I come into this devotional life practice, and I might philosophically understand something, but in terms of actually applying it to my life, there's like a disconnect. And so I was wondering, as it's kind of like an individual thing for each of us to learn to apply that. So as we are operating within like an institution, how is it that in general that can be incorporated? Is it something that can even be incorporated to encourage one to actually like imbibe the philosophy, or is it really something that we just have to come to on our own?
Yeah, thank you. A nice concern, nice inquiry. Yeah. You see, I can give you a practical case in academia. We have models or theories. Then we have contemporary scholars discussing that theory or expanding on that theory or making commentaries. And then the third stage is the application of the integrated models and the contemporary commentaries. In our case, is Shruti and Smriti. Integration of Shruti and Smriti. The commentaries of the acharyas. And what Krishna himself has said, we have to integrate that and apply those concepts and constructs in our lives. Then we can experience very high-profile realizations. If even we leave one line, for instance, you take a sloka, and Bhagavad Gita slokas, they are normally like 4 lines. So take one line of any sloka in the Bhagavad Gita and try to live it. The one I like to refer to is Mama Evam Sujiva Loke. Yeah. But, frankly speaking, your concern is a concern to every one of us. Because I remember I was in Montreal. I like telling this story. I was in Montreal some years ago in Canada, and there was one devotee from Toronto. He was leading a team of brahmacharis on Sankirtan and Harinam. So when they were in Montreal, he came to meet me and said, Maharaj, what can I do to help all these young devotees to grow in spiritual life and for us to work together in a loving way? I said, I have the answer to it. I have the solution. Should I give it to you? He said, yes. So I told him, see, these guys, these devotees, they've sacrificed their lives for this movement. They sacrificed their lives. They're young people. They could go about with all type of adventures in the material world. They sacrificed their lives for spreading the holiness. They are working with you. Love them the way you will love your beloved younger brother. He looked at me right in the face And he said, Maharaj, this is very difficult. Yes. So I said, but you preach that we are all parts and parcels of Krishna. You know, we are a family. You forgot that? Yeah. See, to preach is one thing, okay? I remember, see, when Gopal Krishna passed away, I have a very close relationship with some of his disciples, especially in India. So one family, especially, the whole family, have a strong connection with them. They are disciples of Gopal Krishna Maharaj. One of the kids, she's already retired. She retired from her job. She's an IT personnel. So she retired and then was serving full time in Mayapur. And this is very rare in India, okay? Because India, where marriage is like the watchword. But but Gopal Krishna told her, this life just dedicate to Krishna so that you get out from this place. A young, beautiful lady, she's now about 40 or so. So then, as Guru Maharaj passed away, so I sent a message to her about, look, I have had this experience when my Guru Maharaj passed away. Some devotees, some of his disciples, they even were hospitalized, be strong, and all these things. So she messaged me back that, Maharaj, thank you. But, I know all his philosophy. I'm not able to apply it right now. Yeah, when something really hits you, that's when you know whether you are applying, you're able to apply the philosophy or not. But then we should practice to do these little things of creating a cohesion in our communities, cohesion in the family. I was mentioning also to these devotees the other day about how one devotee at the Bhakti Center, he was a brahmachari. You need to hear this, okay? He was a brahmachari at the Bhakti Center. I met him in Portland. I was in Portland, in Washington State, yeah. I was in Seattle, in Washington State. So I met him in Seattle. We had a program, so he was there. So after the program, I was just going around talking to people one-on-one. Then I met this young man, so I asked him what he does. He said he was living as a brahmachari at the Bhakti Center here in New York. Then I said, so what are you doing now? He said he's working. He got a job. He's working. I said, why did you leave the brahmachari ashram? He said he has no friend. He has been there for years. He had no friend. He felt lonely, so he left. Yeah, we speak very big philosophy, but are we also creating a congenial environment for cohesive relationships? To speak philosophy is very good. Better than that is to be a practitioner of that philosophy. Just like you got a law degree, you are not called a legal practitioner, except you are going to the courts to free people, to practice. If you study medicine, you're a doctor. Good for you. But except you are practicing, you are not called a medical doctor. You're called a doctor. You are not called a medical practitioner. There are two things. So we may be wonderful, Bhakti devotees, Bhakti philosophers. Are we practicing this Vaishnava philosophy? Are we practicing the teachings of Prabhupada? When we are practicing, it will be easy to enable people to stay without blooping, without living. So, first of all, we should extend ourselves to people. Sometimes we get, see, in America it's so easy. I remember when I was in New Jersey, when I was in New Jersey as a brahmachari in 2007, 2006, 7, 8. And so before I left in November to Maya for my science initiation. So when I was in New Jersey, this very concept of rugged individualism became so manifest. I learned to shave my head in America. I learned to shave myself in America, you know. See, I originally joined in Africa. Then I got invited by some political science professors, like New York Political Science Association, Georgia Political Science Association, Pennsylvania Political Science Association. A number of forums, scholarly forums, they invited me. That's how I migrated to America. So when I came, first I was in Gittinagri, and then my Guru Maharaj passed away. Then I moved to New Jersey. But then I saw this rugged individualism. For me, I love it. Okay? But it's very detrimental to people. Because it's like you are isolating the devotees. That was mentioned also yesterday or day before. In the prison, in all prisons, if someone is becoming like very nasty, you know what they do? To that prisoner, they isolate him or her. And very quickly, they commit suicide. We are social animals. We need relationships. So if the devotees in our communities don't have strong relationships, devotees living in the temple don't have strong relationships, if they have a problem, who is there for them to confide into what they're passing through? And then they will feel isolated. So yes, we should practice to implement that very concept. It's there in our Bhagavad Gita. Krishna said, we are all his children. Krishna said, I am the seed-giving father of all living entities. Is it not? Yeah. So Krishna is a father. Are we treating everybody as, person of the same father? See, the strategies, the tools are with us. We are not using them. So we should start using them. Any other comments or questions? Yes, Babu? That's another great concern. See, by default, the conditioned soul, we are prone to forgetfulness. If someone asks us what we did exactly 10 a.m. yesterday, we may not be able to recount it. We will not be able to recount it. So, it's like Arjuna was confused when Krishna was presenting the philosophy to him. Especially when Krishna said about the sun god, he gave this knowledge to the sun god some millions of years ago, and then Arjuna was confused. Okay? And then Krishna said, you were also there. So, yeah, this is our situation, We are prone to forgetfulness, and it's just one of the conditioned characteristics of the living entity. When we are conditioned, all of these inebrities, they come along with it. So yeah, we may have good intentions to remember our realizations. Okay, something happened to me, and I feel the pinprick, and then after some days, I go back to do that same thing that I remember one young brahmachari, he asked me this question. I don't want to mention the temple. He asked me this question that He doesn't want to do some things, but he does it before he realizes that, oh, what did I do? What did I do this? I'm in trouble now. Yeah. I remember also when I was in San Diego some years ago for a presentation. So we went for some a public outing, like a panel program. And all of this, it was a cosmopolitan program, a multicultural program. So after the program, a Caucasian lady, beautiful lady, she's a professional, she came to me to ask a question relating to a similar question. That, see, I am married to a very responsible guy. But I see some other men, and I get attracted to them. Why is this? Yeah. Sometimes, people do the wrong thing, and the response from people around is, kill him or kill her. Yeah, we don't seem to understand what people are passing through. Sometimes we are forced to do things against a better judgment. And Arjuna also raised this issue. What is it that forces someone to do things even against their will? So Krishna, what was Krishna's response? Yeah. Kama isha, krodha isha, raja guna tamubhava, mahasana mahapapma, vidina ihabarana. See, we know this better. Outside people, do they know? No. So, Cuomo was working so hard during the COVID year, past Governor Cuomo. I love that guy. He worked so hard in New York. I was living in Long Island at that time. I was trying to finalize some research project. And all of a sudden, we had the news. Cuomo has resigned. Why? Kama isha kruda isha raja guna tamubhava mahasana mahapapma vidina ihaparina. Devotional bankruptcy. I use this word, and then one guy said, "Oh, I love this term." So yeah, people may have good intentions. They may have so many good qualities. They do so amazing tasks. They help their people in amazing ways. But yeah, your concern is very, very touching. How do we remember? When we become purified, then this whole idea of forgetfulness vanishes, diminishes. Our remembrance and our alignment with ethical values is proportional to our level of purity. We should strive to chant, follow the 10 strategies that the acharyas have given to us, 10 offenses to avoid in chanting holiness. Sometimes we think there's something hidden somewhere that I need to get in this ISKCON. How many years shall I be there before they tell me the secret? The secret is the holy name and following the tradition of chanting holiness. Implementing simple things we learn in Bhagavad Gita. Treating each other as members of one family. Loving each other as the way we love our beloved younger sibling. And when we do this, our society will become a Vaikuntha on earth. What's the time now? It's exactly 9. Exactly. This is what I wanted. Exactly 9 o'clock. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hey, come here.